Why is September important for the deaf community? It's the only month in a year that sees highly concerted global advocacy to raise awareness about the deaf community on different levels. It is about gathering together, becoming united, and showing unity to the rest of the world. We are coming to you live from Nairobi, Kenya. Welcome to Africa Focus, where we bring you news from across the continent right here on Switch TV Kenya. My name is Joel Church and our sign language interpreter is Tracy Dorcas. Start interacting with us on our social media platforms, Switch TV Kenya, Joel Church M on Twitter, and as well on Facebook, Switch TV Kenya and Joel Church. Send in an SMS via 22999 free of charge. But first, here are stories making headlines. United Nations urges probe of death threats against Nobel Peace winner Laureate Mukwege. A new defense minister and army chief appointed in Libya after days of protests against poor public services and living conditions. And we tell you of a South African church that believes that drinking brings you closer to God. We begin with Africa Roundup stories.
When the coronavirus is wreaking havoc on businesses around the world, the film industry in Nigeria's mainly Muslim north is going from strength to strength. The region's movie machine, dubbed Kannywood after its largest city, Kano, has become the dominant source of entertainment for West Africa's 80 million house speakers. And Northflix, Kannywood's fledgling online streaming platform, has seen its client base soar since authorities imposed lockdowns to contain the coronavirus pandemic in March. The authorities in Senegal have started to gradually reopen the country's 8 universities for in-person learning after they were closed for more than 5 months because of the coronavirus pandemic. Reopening will depend on the capacities of respective institutions to comply with COVID-19 safety protocols. Online courses will continue for students still waiting to be recalled. At Cheikh Anta Diop University in the capital Dakar, the largest in the country with more than 71,000 students, departments will reopen depending on their capacities to enforce safety measures. Most undergraduate students are expected to resume learning there this week. Senegal has more than 190,000 students in institutions of higher education, 65% of whom are in public universities. The country continued to register about 100 new COVID-19 cases on a daily basis. American R&B singer Akon is moving ahead with plans to create a futuristic Pan-African city, announcing on Monday that construction will begin next year on the $6 billion project, despite global tourism uncertain future. Akon, who first announced his idea of the utopian city back in the year 2018, has described it as a real-life Wakanda, comparing it to the technologically advanced fictional African place portrayed in the blockbuster film Black Panther. On Monday, Akon said he hoped his project will provide much-needed jobs for Senegalese and also serve as a home back home for Black Americans and others facing racial injustices.
Moving on, the United Nations Rights Chief Michelle Bachelet calls on the Democratic Republic of Congo to swiftly investigate death threats against Nobel Peace Prize Denis Mukwege and bring those responsible to justice.
The High Commissioner for Human Rights, Michelle Bachelet, has today expressed deep concern over the death threats directed at Dr. Mukwege, and she's calling for swift action to investigate who is behind these threats and bring them to justice. The recent alarming surge of threats against Dr. Mukwege, which have been conveyed via social media and in direct phone calls to him and his family, followed his condemnation of the continued killing of civilians in Eastern DRC and his renewed calls for accountability for human rights violations and abuses. His life seems to be at serious risk. Dr. Mukwege has received death threats in the past, and he survived a major assassination attempt in October 2012 when 5 armed men invaded his home, killed his bodyguard and friend Joseph Bizimana, and held his family at gunpoint.
Now, an unorthodox South African church believes that drinking brings you closer to God. Gabola Church, which means drinking in the Swana language, was founded 3 years ago by Tsietsi Makiti to capture the unchurched people that will be rejected by conventional churches that frown on drinkers. This congregation rejoices as the sale of alcohol is allowed once more in the country.
Bottles of their favorite alcoholic beverages in their hand, gleeful worshippers walk into a thatched roof hall and sat down to listen to their Sunday sermon. This unseen South African church believes that drinking brings you closer to God. Welcome to Gabola Church, South Africa's unorthodox place of worship, which allows its members to drink alcohol during service.
Because in Gabola Church, liquor is the one that is connecting us with our God. Because if I'm under the influence of liquor, I'm under the influence of the Holy Spirit at the same time. So now, for those who do
rolling bans on booze sales imposed by the government since March as part of anti-coronavirus restrictions had left the church services stridently dry. The latest ban was lifted in mid-August.
Now that the ban is lifted of alcohol, everything is so happy. We are celebrating as Gabola Church members. We are.
Last Sunday's service was held in Barneystaven in the working-class suburb of Everton, 50 kilometers south of Johannesburg. Gabola was founded in 2017 by Tsietsi Makiti, 54, to capture the unchurched people who would ordinarily be rejected by conventional, traditional and evangelical churches that frown on imbibers. Pubs and restaurants generally serve in meeting venues.
There's nothing like Gabola. You know, at Gabola, you get a chance to learn or to grow because you are amongst the people who are not judging you, who are allowing you to be who you are, and then.
In the hall, chairs are set a meter apart in line with the coronavirus physical distancing protocols. Worshippers sip away as they listen to the sermon. The improvised pulpit is decorated with bottles of gin and lasers. After the sermon, congregants, who all have to be over 21 years of age, sang and danced the afternoon away. Gabola translates to drinking in the South African official language Swana. They don't read the Bible, and the leader said they are in the process of writing their own Bible. There is no offering of tithing collected during the services. Members just have to bring their own booze. Followers rejected suggestions that the gatherings are just a ruse to do drinking. Vicky Mugambi, Africa Focus.
I'm just trying to imagine the number of congregants who will go to such churches if the branches of the Gabola Church will be introduced across the continent. Anyway, thousands of white South African bikers protested in Pretoria against attacks on farms as dozens of predominantly white farmers are killed in South Africa every year. According to police, 49 murders occurred on the farms in the 12th months up to April.
Hundreds of farmers on tractors, excavators, harvesters, trucks or horses took to the streets of the small South African town of Mugofong on Tuesday, protesting what they said was a spike in attacks on farms. Dozens of predominantly white farmers are killed in crime-plagued South Africa every year, and police statistics shows that 49 murders occurred on farms in the 12 months up to April. Wearing face masks with placards plastered to their vehicles, the protesting farmers drove in a long convoy around the town, which is about 220 kilometers north of Johannesburg. The protest was held as 3 suspects appeared in Mugofong Magistrate Court on charges of murdering a 79-year-old farmer in March. A small group of farmers, including children, stepped out of their vehicles and held up their arms crossed in an X, symbolizing their calls for an end of the attacks. The farmers want improved security from the police and better prosecution rates of crimes related to farm attacks.
And I'm here to support the fact that there's too many farm murders and all lives matter, and the murders have to stop.
Without the farmers, there's no food. Without food, South Africa will go hungry.
According to official police statistics, murders are generally high in South Africa. In the 12 months up to April, the police recorded 21,325 murders, averaging 58.4 per day and showing a 1.4% increase over the previous year. Of that number, 49 were farmers.
In the recent years, African actors are finally getting their chance in the spotlight in Hollywood. Silas Mwende is one of the few actors who are raising the Kenyan flag high. However, COVID-19 has upended the global film industry and the impact has been drastic. Our reporter Kennedy Kimani had an interview with Mwende and filed the following story.
Hey, we don't need you today.
Silas Mwende is with no doubt living his American dream. The star of the Kenyan-born actor and singer began shining at the age of 19 when he was signed by Ogopa DJs. After he released his first music video, he got nominated and won an American Music Award, dubbed Talanta Awards, as the best upcoming artist in the non-USA-based category. His journey in Hollywood began when he got signed to Lincoln Film Agency, where he has featured in several films and commercials. Among the movies he's done are Love Lily, Our Souls at Night, Ride or Die, To Be You, and Innocent Man.
It has been a very amazing, great journey, world of cinema, and that's the only word I can be able to share my emotions and feelings with people. And especially a person like me, I'm from Africa, where I want to showcase Africa to the global conversation, where I believe Africa should not be a trend, it should be on the global conversation that's creating very positive, exciting product to the world.
COVID-19 pandemic has had a substantial impact on the film industry across the world, and this has not been an easy ride for him. Silas is now organizing a virtual music concert in the month of September, so as to raise money to buy food for the needy families in Kenya who have been hit hard by the pandemic.
Most of the film and movie theaters shut down because of the social distancing and those kind of things. So in lockdown and quarantine, so not very many people were able to go and watch film out there in the normal movie theaters. And you know, it's through movie theaters that people, the actors and people in the showbiz industry can be able to get the income generated from the box office. So I think it has really affected the entire industry, and the casting has also gone down during auditions because people are doing it virtually, Zoom or Skype or stuff like that. So I think it has affected the entire industry. Music concerts has been cancelled, and just everything is on a standstill right now.
A time to take a breather. Stay with us here on Africa Focus. Still to come. African Development Bank head Kinumi Adesina has been re-elected for a second 5-year term. Welcome back to Africa Focus. My name is Joel Church and our sign language interpreter is Tracy Dorcas. Moving on, his face is not new to many. Dennis Odera, a 24-year-old, has been going through stigmatization because of his heavy body size. A familiar face with CTV audience, Dennis, who was weighing 180 kilograms just a few months ago, shocked the nation when he lost almost 50 kilograms after working out. Here's his story as told by Andrew Okero.
This was Dennis months ago. He walked, but with pain. He suffered, but silently. His family had no way out. He hated himself, and those who were supposed to love him showed him hate. Reason being, his weight.
Okay, nikianza zoezi ilikuwa very hard sana juu hata kukimbia kwa mashini ilikuwa ngumu. Zoezi ulipata nikifanya naumia, lakini kumbuka kuwa determination come from the willing power, nikaamua kuweka bidii.
Full of discomfort, struggle, and stigmatization from people surrounding him. But look here, hard work and patience has made him going.
I feel motivated, yes, because as much as I'm training him, I'm getting encouragement from all the trainers around. 1, 2.
The last time we featured him, Dennis was 181 kgs, and today, according to Silas, Dennis's trainer, is 139 kgs, having lost 41.5 kgs. What a motivation!
So far, kwa jani yangu, nimeona niko na supporters wengi sana. Juu saa hii nikitembea hati mtaa, nyumbani, kila mtu ananiambia keep on going, fanya zoezi kabisa, umekata.
Silas says at first sight he never knew that Dennis will come to cut his weight, but he trusted the process, terming the urge from Dennis as unbelievable.
So if you want to lose weight, have a target. And weight loss is a journey. Kuna saa weight itashuka ipande.
Silas, however, condemns people downplaying others with the same condition as Dennis, retreating that the maltreatment kills their spirit and hope of living.
Life billows do roll, tempest upon tempest, but the determination of Dennis has clearly shown that humans are indeed not limited. Andrew Kero, Switch TV at Hill Park Hotel in Nairobi.
Away from that, the head of Libya's unity government appointed a new defense minister and army chief after days of protest against poor public services and living conditions. Libya has endured almost a decade of violent chaos since the 2011 NATO-backed uprising that toppled and killed veteran dictator Muammar Gaddafi.
The head of Libya's unity government on Saturday appointed a new defense minister and army chief after days of protest against poor public services and living conditions. The decrees followed the announcement hours earlier by Libya's UN-recognized government of national accord that it had suspended its interior minister after militia gunmen fired on peaceful demonstrators last week. GNA Chief Fayez Al-Sarraj promoted Deputy and Acting Defense Minister Salah Eddin Al-Namroush to the ministry's top job and appointed General Muhammad Ali Al-Had as the head of army. Haddad hails from Misrata, 200 kilometers east of Tripoli, the home of powerful armed groups that have fought on the side of GNA in the battle against Eastern-based military strongman Khalifa Haftar, who tried to seize the capital last year. The appointments come days after Sarraj announced the government reshuffle in response to growing popular discontent in Tripoli and other western Libyan cities under its control. Hundreds of demonstrators staged rallies from Sunday in Tripoli against corruption and extended shortages of power, water and fuel in the oil-rich North African country. Gunmen fired on crowds on several occasions. In response, the GNA said Interior Minister Fadi Bashaga has been temporarily suspended pending an inquiry on his statements about the protests and incidents in Tripoli and other cities.
There is corruption in all sectors. There is a big problem in electricity, water and all kind of services.
Bashaga, who was visiting the GNA's main Baka Taki, said in a statement posted on the Interior Ministry's Facebook page early on Saturday that he was ready to submit an investigation, but he demanded any hearing be broadcast live for the sake of transparency.
I am ready to be questioned. I have nothing to hide. I will not side with the corrupted people, even if this act will make me lose my position. I cast this position on all position if this let us side with the corrupted.
Libya has endured almost a decade of violent chaos since the 2011 NATO-backed uprising that toppled and killed veteran dictator Muammar Gaddafi, with the GNA and a Haftar-backed Eastern administration now vying for power against the backdrop of dozens of local conflicts.
Meanwhile, African Development Bank FDB head Akinwumi Adesina has been re-elected for a second 5-year term after a prolonged storm about governance that was resolved by an independent inquiry.
Akinwumi Adesina, a 60-year-old former Nigerian agriculture minister, obtained 100% of the votes of all regional and non-regional members of the bank. Adesina was the sole candidate, but his bid for a second term had been clouded by a whistleblower allegations, later rejected, that graft, poor management and favorism had flourished under his watch. Adesina, the son of a farming family, in 2015 became the first Nigerian to head the bank, one of the world's 5 biggest multilateral lenders, and an important but often unseen player in economic development. He gained continent-wide recognition last October when the African Development Bank AFDB secured 105 billion euros in funding pledges, a move that doubled in its capital and cemented its triple A credit rating.
Of course, right now, the sound that is loudest in my ears is the announcement of my re-election as president of the African Development Bank for a second term. We also made history by re-electing me by 100% vote. Via a vote, I became the first president of the bank in its history to be re-elected by 100% vote of all its shareholders, and I'm most grateful and very appreciative. This was very important. It shows the transparency of our bank. It shows your demonstrated weight of support behind my vision. It shows a very clear and strong mandate from all shareholders to go and implement the vision. It shows that all voices were heard. It shows that we are true to the constitutive texts of our bank. I look forward to working closely with each and every one of you for the urgent and difficult task of supporting Africa to build back better, smarter, and boldly from the COVID-19 pandemic.
But of criticism, his managerial style emerged after the bank was shaken by a string of departures when he took over. A 15-page report by whistleblowers earlier this year triggered an internal inquiry by the bank's ethics committee, which cleared him. The United States then intervened, calling for an external investigation. 3 persons outside panel, led by former Irish President Mary Robinson alongside the Gambia's Chief Justice Hassan Jallow and the World Bank's former Integrity Vice President Leonard McCarthy, carried out its own review. Its report, issued last month, said Adesina had been correctly investigated and that panels concurs with the Ethics Committee in respect of all the allegations against him. In its statement on Thursday, the head of the AFDB's board, Niale Kaba, who is also the Ivory Coast Development Minister, said she was delighted that the Adesina had been re-elected.
Sixièmement, nous exhortons le groupe de la banque.
We urge the bank group to strengthen its internal governance, compliance, control and accountability functions to align with the best practices of sister institutions.
Institutions sœurs. À cet égard, et dans un esprit d'unité.
In this regard, and in the spirit of unity and collaboration, we authorize the creation of an ad hoc committee of the Board of Governors to oversee the review of the bank's governance framework for ethics and complaints handling.
En matière d'éthique et de traitement des plaintes.
Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari, in a statement, also congratulated Adesina on his re-election, saying he deserves it. Buhari thanked the African Union for backing the AFDB president and the shareholders of the bank who worked tirelessly to ensure the return of the visionary leader. He said Adesina's versatility and experience at both national and international levels would serve to energize the Pan-African financial institution urging him to remain focused and steadfast. The AFDB said that during Adenisina's first term, lending by the bank had benefited the lives of 335 million Africans in areas such as access to electricity, transport, and sewerage. The 56-year-old institution estimates that Africa could lose at least 173 billion European dollars in GDP 2020 and 236 billion in 2021 as a result of the economic fallout from the COVID-19 crisis. The bank set up coronavirus funding mechanism worth up to 10 million European dollars in April.
And that's all we had on Africa Focus today, but keep the conversation going on our social media platforms at Switch TV Kenya, at Joel Chacha M on Twitter, and as well on Facebook, Switch TV Kenya and Joel Chacha. Send in an SMS via 22999 free of charge. My name is Joel Chacha and our sign language interpreter is Tracy Dorcas. Until next time, do have yourself a great day.